Hi Shri, welcome back. How are you, Shri?
Very good, Bhumesh. Thank you, and good to have to be in your show.
Thank you, Shri. Thanks for your time. And I have something very special today. And this is more of, more of my personal learning and experience. And I'm sure you have seen this many times happening in front of your eyes or in front of customer. What we are going to discuss today. So what we want to talk about today is do's and don'ts of a sales guy or a sales meeting. When you are meeting a customer, what are the right things you can do, and there are some things which you should not do um, to create to create a successful sales or to do a successful sales meeting. So, Sri, do you remember some of your experience? I have a lot of things to ask. I'm sure our audience is live and they will be asking us some questions on this. But do you remember some of your thoughts on some sales guys you were mentoring, working with, and they had some obvious things which they were making a mistake?
But there are many, Bhumesh, and I'm sure as you go on, and I can pick on some of those items and expand it because with my personal experience, I have a lot of things to talk. But more importantly, as a boss myself, and when I have my team, most of the time I help them discover by themselves because in this sales profession, it's important they discover it rather than you go and tell them in a classroom fashion, right?
Correct.
That learning by discovering by yourself is a lot more, value than I lecturing them. So that is, the do's and don'ts of a salesperson. Okay, the way he or she sells it to the customer, the way he interacts, the way he rallies the team that's supporting him in terms of making a value proposition. Because you remember, in a B2B service sales, it's not that one person goes and sells it, right? There's a whole lot of team in your organization helping you to prepare, whether it's an architect or solutions designers or financial engineering people, you name them, right? All of them are there. Okay, so there are many qualities of a salesperson required, not only while facing the customer, also rallying your own team. So you go on. I'll pick on some of all these things and see how useful those experiences are.
So let me ask you a few things which I personally went through when I was making this transition from an engineering profession. It is a mindset. It's not just career, right? The mindset of an engineer versus the mind of a sales guy, right? So that shift was happening, and I remember I think I would have made plenty of mistakes when I was making this move. One of them was I was let's say given a chance to meet a customer. My goal was, like an engineer, my goal was to produce some results. Like that's how engineers are. They are given a task, they will finish the task. But first time when I met a customer, my goal was to close the deal, get the business. And when that didn't happen, this fear of rejection was so high that I didn't even want to go and face my boss.
So there are, very interesting, point. There are two aspects to that, right? So as an youngster or everybody, the salespeople, they are, what you call, they're not like, they want to do a slam dunk, go to the customer meeting and be like a Michael Jordan, go and slam the ball to make a point. And everybody wants to get a purchase order in the very first meeting. Two things. One is, let's say many times, not sometimes, many times, it doesn't happen in the first meeting. There are two sides to the coin here. One, how do I keep the customer interest going so that this meeting is an objective to make sure that customer gives the next meeting. By the way, okay. And second, to your own company, your own boss. Okay. So okay, you went to the meeting and came back and you don't have a purchase order. What do we go and tell the boss? Okay. Again, it comes from every time you want to tell the boss, hey, I got the deal, right? It doesn't happen all the time. So what do you go and tell your boss? Okay, so again, what happens is there. So salesperson has to be a very positive thinking person. Okay, telling the boss, look, I did these 5 things, or I did 10 things in the meeting today. Okay. So, you will say that whether you got a purchase order or not purchase order maybe at the end of the conversation, but it tells the positive things. There are 5 things I did, and I'm going to get the next meeting as well. And this customer sure is going to use the purchase order. Okay. If not now, it's come next time. So the 2 things you have to, play it around. One, with the customer, how do I make sure that this meeting is used to get the next meeting? That's important. Yeah. You set the agenda for that. And the boss, explaining like this is the 5 positive things I did with the customer, and by which I'm going to get more meetings and I'm going to get the deal. So yeah, 2 aspects.
Great. So this was, I think, very unique situation with me, because in the same company which I was working for, moved me to sales. So it means I was not making a job change. I was just changing my role. So the moment my role changed, they changed my pay structure, which I didn't like, because earlier I was used to fixed pay every month, and now they said you have to earn your pay. So obviously some salary was there, but on top of that, if you want to make this much money, which was very exciting, money was very exciting. Probably some of the cases I remember in later part of my career, my incentives were more than my um, salary, yearly salary was lesser than total incentive I will make in that year because of the sales I did. But you know what? This first transition, I was scared. Why I don't have,
So
why
it's
I don't.
Bhumesh, it's a quite natural, transition from a support role or a technical role into a customer-facing sales role. That's not an easy transition. But again, I think we talked about in the past, the good salespeople, whether it's a youngster or a very mature person, are the individuals who work for their quota. Okay, they're meeting their quota, they're meeting their target, which means they make their incentive bonus. Okay, the fixed salary is a very small component of a salesperson. Most often, good salespeople will go for a much higher percentage of variable compensation, or what we call the incentive bonus, based upon you meeting or exceeding the target. Okay, so that is a massive cultural change for the individuals transitioning from what they used to be in a fixed salary structure into a variable salary structure. Good salespeople will go for that. Okay, hey, I need variable or incentives, not the fixed salary. So that means that is part of your your DNA going forward, having chosen the career in the sales. So you focus upon meeting your quota, meeting your target, making your bonus, getting your promotion, being leading a larger team, okay, and being a trusted advisor to your customers.
Great. I'm almost laughing thinking about what all mistakes I made. One of the other mistakes I'll tell you again, it's about mindset. It's not that I was intentionally doing it. When you sit in an engineering meeting, let's say you are sitting with all your engineers, and there is something which is wrong. Let's say something which you don't agree. You're supposed to tell, because that will impact your work. Tomorrow, if you don't tell, the whole team will suffer. But when I went in front of customer, it backfired. They said something, they start praising customer or competition for me, or they were saying we found out this, and I knew that is not true. But you know what? I end up telling them, which was a mistake.
So I think the cardinal rule for a salesperson when you meet the customer, a few things. One is never talk ill about your own competition. Okay, who are your competitor? Never talk ill about them. Okay, but the smart salespeople, there's always way to package your conversation such that okay, why you or your solutions or your company is better than the competition. Okay, but you never may say okay that competition is bad. That's why you are good. Okay, it actually plays against you. One has to be extremely careful. Yeah. Similarly, at your own team side, your own team, your own people, many times people do carry very strong convictions in terms of the architecture or the solutions or financial structuring, what they do for a deal, for which you have to go and sell it. But then it's you need some amount of finesse in terms of putting across, making sure that everybody gets the point, okay, from the customer view. Okay, one is your own internal view, but actually more importantly, what a salesman person brings is the customer view, yeah, the market view. which is also, requires very fine skill. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is something very interesting, which I think I learned probably in not in a few days or few weeks. I think it took me months to learn that when you're talking to customer, you can't just keep focusing on the price. Your focus has to be value. Otherwise, what happens is they will not even entertain you. They'll not even shortlist you. First, you have to show the value. The price will come in the discussion later. This I could not figure out initially, maybe for first 1 year when I was doing it.
Yeah, that's, I mean, a very important, very interesting point. You see, what happens is, as you get matured, your knowledge about your customer increases. As your knowledge about the customer increases, you basically flip from what I call as a cost plus proposition into a value minus proposition. That means that's how you price it. Okay, what is the value you are going to bring to the customer? On that value, you share between you and the customer. Okay, tell the customer, okay, this is my pricing because I'm giving you so much value, right? So that flip happens as you gain more the customer knowledge, okay, customer's problem area, okay, that you are addressing, you are solving. So it's it's a standard trap that everybody gets into, by rushing into cost plus proposition versus what I call as a value minus proposition.
Great. Again, I'm remembering my times when I started doing sales, and I was very fortunate that maybe I was 2 3 years in job, and I started reporting to founders of the companies, and that helped me a lot. Learn this lesson that when I was meeting customers, I would just go. Let's say I'm going to a customer X, I would just go and start doing meetings, and I keep telling what I did, 20 meetings or 10 meetings for the customer, and they gave me freedom. They trusted me for 6 9 months. They were not worried about how much business I was bringing. But later I realized that I was meeting the wrong people. They were not decision maker. So that is one mistake which I made. I was just being happy doing meetings because I thought sales is all about doing meetings. So just if I keep meeting, the business will come. But it's about finding the guy who has the power to make that decision to give you business.
So this is, it happens quite often, not that, because the salesperson being an outsider. So you essentially trying to knock at the door and see which one, gives the right response. So you end up meeting. But I think very soon you will figure it out. Salesperson should have the capability, skills to figure it out where the money is, or who is the person who's making decisions. So otherwise you'll end up barking the wrong tree. That it happens quite. I'm not telling it doesn't happen. Not by merit and by design, by purely because sometimes out of salesperson incident, he or she will keep talking to the customers and same person more often. Eventually realizing, okay, that's not the person who makes the call or decision, so you got to talk to someone else. Okay, so the mapping the customer organization is one of the important skill. Again, that comes from experience over a period of time as you gain more and more knowledge about the customer organization. And who are the people, who are the persons who make the decisions, so whom you should be talking to, and present the value proposition what you're going to bring in to solve that person's problem.
So there is one more question which came similar, but yeah, it is actually good to emphasize on this, that you never hurt the ego of your customer. So one of the question came about if your customer is let's say talking about something which you don't feel is a fact. How do you so the question is, how do you politely tell your customer and make him agree on your side, basically?
So yeah, that's the problem. A lot of common mistakes a lot of sales people make at the early stages of a career. Okay, straight away repudiating or disagreeing with the customer, or being more vociferous, opposing what the customer says. That is a wrong thing a salesperson can do. So I think there are multiple ways, in terms of flipping it around and explaining to the customer different perspectives, not directly repudiating or contradicting the customer directly, but telling the multiple facets or multiple aspects of what you think about, or what are your knowledge based upon or what you learned about those things, and indirectly it may not, turn around just one meeting. It takes some time. That's where the salesperson has to be very patient. He has to be very patient with the client. Okay. So you person has to learn, make sure that you don't contradict and you don't repudiate a customer outright.
Yeah. So one more question related to what we talked, um, and I'm sure personally I have faced this. How do you handle the rejection? Because this happens maybe what 80% of the time or 90% of the time, depending on what kind of business you are into. 80-90% of the time you don't get the PO from the customer. How do you handle rejection, especially people like me who came from engineering background who like to excel in 80-90% of the time, but here it is 10% success. So how do you
Absolutely.
manage?
I think, yeah. I think we probably briefly talked about it in our very first talk in this series. This is the profession what we are chosen into, being a salesperson. First of all, the B2B service sales, most often 90% of the time, salesperson is outside his own office, either in the customer place or on the road, right? And 90% of the time, he's facing the customer. And over the 90% time, it's only 10% time, probably you'll say you get an answer, yes, Bhumesh, I want to give the order to you, right? Other only 10% time. Other 90% time, oh, either no or come later. Okay. So it's a hard thing for any budding salesperson to accept, okay? Because you go with a lot of enthusiasm, and a lot of wisdom, a lot of your ideas, and you are absolutely sure what you have is what the customer requires it. But only 10% time customer says yes. Other 90% time customer says no. But that is the part and parcel of the life. So what I said earlier also, which is okay, you live for one more day. Okay, that means so this interaction, this engagement, or this meeting you had, you basically make sure that you get the next engagement, the next meeting, the customer is going to call you. Okay, that is your win every time. Go and meet the customer. So don't expect the binary answer, or rather, like every time you go to a customer, you get a yes, here the purchase order. It don't happen. Every time you are actually incrementally building up your equity with the customer, so that the customer calls you back.
Great.
So I think that this is a skill. Over a period of time, good successful salespeople learn that skill and art.
I remember because I was excited about my job. I wanted to do well. So I'll meet a customer and they will say, we need this. I'll say, yes, yes, yes. They'll say, can you do this? I'll say, yes, yes, yes. So what I used to do is I will set the expectation so high by overselling that once I commit, my company um, uh, could not deliver what all I, committed, because because just to win the business, I would say, yeah, this is possible. Can you do this? Yeah, I can do this. So I'm sure this is a common mistakes which
No, absolutely. It overselling, out of enthusiasm. It happens quite often because, as I said, at the end of the day, we are all human beings. Even the sales guys are also human beings. Okay, so because everybody wants to be successful, at some point in their career, they would have done that overselling. Okay, which has far-reaching consequences afterwards. Okay, because you oversell it as a company, as an organization, you are not able to deliver that, and that fall in front of the customer eye is a lot greater. Because remember, this business, B2B service business is a sticky business. Once you get in, unless you make a terrible mistake, you will always get a repeat business. Remember, cost of sale, once you get the customer, don't lose the customer. If you lose a customer, getting another customer to replace that the cost is very high, right? So, that means obviously don't oversell. See, if you oversell, you fall flat in front of the customer eye. So I think even when you oversell, I think it's important that, maybe after some time, it's always good to go back to customer. Look, no, we said like this. I think there's something wrong with the commitment what you given. Customers will appreciate that, because being so honest, because customer success depends upon your own ability to deliver on time, on cost, on quality, on schedule. Yeah.
I read a few books in the beginning about sales because I thought I need to learn this skill. And one of the book I read, they said you have to be enthusiastic. You have to be excited in the sales meeting when you go and meet customer. Enthusiasm is the key, which is true. Today I believe it is true, but you know what? I mistook this thing and misunderstood it by doing over talking. So I would talk so much that customer will get irritated.
No. It's I think people mistake for the enthusiasm. It should be positive. Okay, salesperson exhibit positive characteristics when he speaks. His body language, you should sound very positive. You should look very positive. Sometimes the enthusiasm takes you in another axis, which is you over talk. You are bluster your way through, which is again it creates a far-reaching negative connotation. So important not to oversell, because people will customers will figure it out very soon if you're talking too much. Okay, talking too much to have your way through. Yeah. So I think being positive is very important. Okay, talking is not necessary. Yeah.
Yeah, and I probably lost some businesses by over talking because I just won't stop. Customer will not get chance to tell me what they want,
Yeah,
and
and I'm sure you'll do next time better. So that's based upon the learning, right?
correct. So we have more questions coming related to cost of sales, which you mentioned. We briefly covered it in our initial video, but I think
Yeah.
we need a separate talk on that topic. I still have questions coming related to this, and I'm sure being a sales guy, we have made so many mistakes. We will have to cover more of them. Today, we are running short of time. So thank you, Steve, for your time, and look forward to talk to you on this topic again.
Absolutely. Thank you, Bhumesh, and thank you very much having me in your show.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.